Aubrey O'Day is stepping into the courtroom, prepared to testify against Diddy. Why did she choose this moment to break her silence? Why risk everything to speak out now? Her cryptic posts online and sudden arrival in New York might be the start of something much bigger.
According to Us Weekly, Aubrey O'Day is officially set to testify in Diddy's high-profile trial. The former Danity Kane singer is expected to take the stand in the ongoing legal battle involving Sean Diddy Combs.
A source confirms she was subpoenaed and has already landed in New York City, ready to testify sometime this week or next. She's here now, but it's unlikely she'll be on the stand just yet. Cassie is expected to testify all day tomorrow.
Disclaimer: the content on this channel may contain gossip-based information, rumors, or exaggerated portrayals of reality. Please exercise your own discretion while watching, and remember that not all information presented may be factual or verified.
I became a sharp, disciplined businesswoman because working with Diddy demanded nothing less than excellence. Absolutely, working for him meant constantly being on point.
I used to say I loved Diddy. He was someone I considered a friend. A good guy, even. But when someone asked, "Is he really a good guy?" I paused. That's not a question I felt ready to answer. We were offered a deal, and when I say we, not everyone received it. Groups like Day 26, for example, weren't included.
Here's what it was. We'd to reclaim the rights to our music, but only after Diddy's company folded and someone else had purchased our catalogue. This was long after we'd already released 2 double platinum albums. $14 or $15 per album sold, and we sold over 2 million. Do the math. That's somewhere around $48 million. I'm no expert, but that's the rough estimate. So yes, someone made nearly $50 million off of us. And what about us, the artists? We were left with a fraction. Even after Sony bought the catalogue, we were only paid for recent streaming royalties.
We were offered a payout, about $800, but only if we signed a non-disclosure agreement, one that forbade us from ever saying anything negative about Puff, Bad Boy, Janice Combs, Justin Combs Music, EMI, or Sony ever again in public. I wanted to tell our story. I reached out to some of the girls and said, if you need $800 or $900, I'll give it to you. Just don't sign this. Because I was planning a documentary, something real. For Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, whoever would tell the truth. What struck me even more was seeing the kids walking into court, heads bowed, surrounded by women offering prayer and support. It made me wonder, what kind of father wants his children to sit through graphic testimony about their dad's private desires? That image stayed with me. It's hard to imagine any parent being okay with their children hearing those details. It didn't feel protective. It felt strategic.
Because what the jury sees matters. Kids in the courtroom send a message. If they're here supporting their father, then maybe he didn't do all these things. It's optics, powerful ones. And if you ask me, it feels like Diddy needs them in that courtroom. Not for comfort, but for the image. Meanwhile, the case is gaining momentum. Prosecutors are beginning to stack up the charges, each one more serious than the last. And Aubrey? She's not staying silent anymore. Her cryptic social media posts weren't just vague inspiration. They were hints, a warning shot. You are standing at the edge of the season that will demand your truth in full voice, she wrote. What you've hidden, denied, or feared will no longer fit the shape of who you are becoming. Fans didn't need much more to connect the dots. That post was a signal, subtle but unmistakable.
She continued, doors that once ignored you will now open, not because you knock louder, but because you carry the authority of alignment. This wasn't a casual tweet. It had weight, purpose. And now that she's in New York, just as the trial begins, everything's lining up. Aubrey's history with Diddy isn't just industry gossip, it's rooted in real, direct experience. She wasn't just an artist on his label. She was part of his inner circle during some of the most influential years of his career. She's spoken before about the tight grip Diddy held over the group, a controlling management style that many described as toxic. According to her, creativity was stifled, personal freedom limited, and silence was enforced. That makes her presence at the trial deeply significant. She knows the inner workings of that world. If there's anyone who can give insight into how Diddy wielded power behind closed doors, it's Aubrey. What makes this even more striking is her timing.
Aubrey arriving in New York during the very first week of the trial isn't a coincidence. The moment it became public knowledge, the internet lit up. Was she there to testify? What did she know? Speculation spread fast, especially once her name began circulating alongside the case details. Given her past relationship with Diddy, both professionally and personally, her testimony could be pivotal. especially if it supports allegations tied to Cassie Ventura. For years, Diddy has been accused of controlling the narrative around those closest to him. Many who once worked with him, staff, collaborators, even friends, have shared stories of being shut out, silenced, or discredited. But Aubrey isn't following that script. Whether through veiled tweets or a physical presence in court, her decision to speak up has already changed the tone around the case. The mystery, the public appearances, and what's soon to come in the courtroom. It's all reshaping the conversation.
Her willingness to challenge what many say was years of manipulation and control could set the stage for others to come forward too. So the question now becomes, what is Aubrey still holding back? Because if that tweet was any indication, she's preparing to reveal everything. And in a world where silence was often the norm, that's monumental. Her post continued, "You are not late. You are right on time. And everything you thought was a detour was actually divine preparation." She ended with, "Stay rooted, speak clearly, and the shift is already in motion." These weren't just words, they were a declaration. If her testimony does bring new revelations, it could include bombshells that have long been kept behind the scenes. What did she witness inside Diddy's world? Was she there for any of the incidents tied to racketeering, forced labor, or the disturbing accusations now surfacing? The answers may be coming soon. And the public is watching closely, holding their breath.
Aubrey's presence in that courtroom isn't just about legal obligations. It's symbolic. It signals something bigger, a moment where fear is no longer stronger than truth. This trial isn't just about one artist's experience. It's becoming a larger commentary on power, silence, and the industry's dark corners. With Aubrey stepping into the spotlight, this feels like more than testimony. It feels like a shift. And she's not standing alone. Another key figure, Dawn Rashard, is preparing to speak out as well. Her role in this trial could add even more weight to the case building against Diddy. We'll talk about her next. But first, let's get into the numbers again. After 2 double platinum albums, millions of records sold, we looked at the math. Roughly $15 per album times 2 million copies. That's around $48 million in revenue. And yet, as artists, we saw almost none of it.
Now, this so-called benevolent man, this changed version of Diddy, has decided to compensate the artists, but only for earnings collected after Sony acquired our catalog. That means streaming money from the last few years. Want to know what that added up to? About $800. And to receive it, we had to sign an NDA. A legally binding promise that we would never publicly speak ill of Puff, Bad Boy, Janice Combs, Justin Combs Music, EMI, or Sony. Ever. I wanted to tell the real story. I even reached out to some of the girls. If you're thinking of signing that NDA just for the payout, don't. I'll give you $800 myself if it means keeping your voice free. I was preparing to pitch a documentary, something raw and honest, to Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, whoever was willing to help us speak. And while that was happening, something powerful was unfolding in that courtroom. Children walking in, arms linked with women praying. A visible, emotional display.
But beneath it, I couldn't help but wonder, what father would want his children sitting through the details of what he's being accused of? It's hard to believe they're there for any reason other than to send a message to the jury. It's a calculated move. One that says, look, if his kids still believe in him, maybe you should too. But that's not love. That's strategy. And in my opinion, it feels selfish. Because no child should have to hear what's being said in that courtroom. The charges are stacking up fast. And what's happening now is far bigger than Cassie's claims alone. This trial is shaping into something that exposes an entire system. As for Aubrey, she's not whispering anymore. Whether it's social media or the witness stand, her voice is shaking the foundation. That post, it wasn't just inspirational. It was a warning. And now with her in New York and her name tied to the witness list, it's clear. She's ready to speak. And what she says could break this case.
Aubrey O'Day's testimony might be one of the most critical turning points in this trial. But she isn't the only one prepared to share what they saw. Enter Dawn Rashard. Her voice adds something new, something undeniable. She's not just talking about bad behavior, she's talking about violence. According to her lawsuit, she saw Diddy physically assault Cassie on more than one occasion. This isn't speculation. This isn't secondhand. Dawn says she witnessed it personally. That's not just a footnote in the case. That's potentially case-changing testimony. Cassie's accusations painted a chilling portrait. But Dawn's account gives them something the court can't ignore: corroboration. She was there. She saw it. And that changes everything. Her lawsuit doesn't just talk about violence. It describes an environment that sounded more like a prison than a career. Work sessions stretching 36 to 48 hours. No breaks, no food, no sleep. Not once in a while. This was the norm.
She says Diddy pushed his performers, including Danity Kane, beyond the limits of what was human. And on top of the physical exhaustion came the psychological pressure. Constant put-downs, demeaning language, total control. Dawn isn't just accusing Diddy of being a harsh boss. She's alleging forced labor. And when you hear what she describes, it fits. This wasn't just about long hours. It was about stripping people of their power, their choices, and their dignity. And she knows the risk of speaking out. She understands what's at stake. But for her, this is more than legal. It's personal. Dawn, like many others, has been carrying this weight for years. And this trial, it might be her one shot to finally reclaim her voice without fear of retaliation. And let's be honest, it takes guts to stand up to someone as powerful, as connected, and as feared as Diddy. But she's doing it anyway.
Dawn's words matter. They give weight to the forced labor allegations. And more than that, they paint a pattern. What she's describing isn't just about one bad experience. It's about a system, a machine built on fear, control, and exploitation. And prosecutors are paying attention because her story lines up with others. They're using her details to show the court that this wasn't an isolated case. It was a repeated, structured way of operating. And now the focus shifts. How will Diddy's legal team try to tear down her credibility? Will they say she's bitter, that she's out for revenge? Maybe. But it won't be easy, because what she's doing is powerful. Dawn is connecting the dots. What once seemed like separate claims now fit together. Each voice adds another piece to the puzzle. One person can be dismissed, but when the voices multiply, it becomes impossible to ignore. Aubrey cracked open the door, Dawn kicked it wide open.
And with that came a behind-the-scenes look at Diddy's world. One that many suspected, but few dared to expose. So how strong is Dawn's testimony? If it holds under pressure, it could devastate Diddy's defense. And with every new claim, the case grows louder, sharper, harder to look away from. We're getting closer to the truth, to accountability, to something that's been buried for years. And it's not just about what Dawn saw. It's about what she endured. She described working conditions that were brutal. Sleep deprivation, hunger, psychological stress, all under the expectation that they stay quiet, stay loyal, stay useful. This wasn't a record label. It was control. And the system didn't stop with her. Another voice joined. Someone listed as victim number 4, a former assistant hidden behind a pseudonym, who says they experienced the same thing. Their testimony matches Dawn's almost exactly. The same long hours. The same toxic environment. The same fear of speaking.
Basic rights like rest, nourishment, and respect were pushed aside, and instead they were left with exhaustion and silence. This goes deeper than music. This is about power. Dawn's lawsuit even describes being humiliated endlessly, verbally attacked, degraded, all while being pushed to their physical and mental limits. That's not just harsh management. That's abuse. And the more she speaks, the more it becomes clear this wasn't just happening to one person. It was happening to many, and no one felt safe enough to stop it. For years, this culture of fear allowed Diddy to operate without question. Control wasn't just physical, it was mental. The message was clear: obey, stay quiet, or get erased. And it worked. Until now. Dawn's testimony ties directly into the racketeering charges. And here's why that matters. Forced labor isn't just about working long hours. It's about people being manipulated into believing they have no choice but to comply. That's what her stow.
Her experience echoes Cassie's. The same language, the same methods, the same fear. And when multiple people describe the same pattern, it's not coincidence. It's evidence. It shows how far-reaching the control really was. How normalized it had become. And for the jury, that paints a clear picture. This wasn't just toxic, it was orchestrated. Now we ask, how far will this go? Dawn is speaking now, but how many more are out there, still silent? For years, NDAs, intimidation. and power have kept people from telling the truth. But Dawn has broken through. Her voice isn't just helping the case, it's giving others permission to come forward. And the impact goes beyond the courtroom. This isn't just one man's misconduct, it's a system that let him thrive. If these testimonies are taken seriously, the consequences could ripple across the industry. Because what Dawn is doing is more than telling her story. She's setting a precedent.
And as more witnesses prepare to step forward, this trial is no longer just about the past. It's about the future. Subscribe for more videos. Stay with us.